Hello friends, how are you today? Today I would like to share with you a video and a talk about shocking events and the human energy field, about our personal experience and about how these events affect us energetically and how we can ride the storm of these events in such a way that unfolds our highest outcomes through applying our conscious awareness to what is happening in the moment, both externally at whatever the event is and internally, to shift our own self or to allow ourselves to allow the event to expand us. A shocking event happened to me this week. It was really something, and I'm still in the recovery of it. I wanted to share a bit of the story of what happened and then show you the dynamics in the human energy field and how you yourself can manage these events and explain. And I want to share with you what the dynamics are. It's funny because I was telling my friend Alex about this situation yesterday. And she said, Susan, it's funny because you were just teaching a class on this, similar topic. And then this thing happened. And now I had already created all these slides. I had created the slides because another shocking event had happened to me last week. And, then when this shocking event happened, the second one, I was able to apply everything I had learned, but I haven't even done the video yet on that. And she said, you can, bring awareness to it and then make your drawings and then, it just flows like so perfectly. Isn't that funny? But it doesn't always feel so good in the moment, does it? This week I was having a conversation with someone. It was very interesting. And suddenly and let me just say that they're okay. And this is not related to any inoculations at all. I was speaking to someone and right in front of me, they had an event. And I did not have my phone on me. And so my choice was I had to actually physically assist the person. And I could not run and get my phone. So to do so, I had to make a choice. And if I did not physically assist the person, they could have gotten very hurt. So that's what I chose. And it was absolutely incredible. I was already feeling the spirit of the divine through me, and really specifically Archangel Michael. His color is that gorgeous blue on either side of the image here for the background that I'm using. It's interesting because we have this gorgeous violet background as well, and the violet flower. And this is a color that often reminds me of both Saint Germain and the Archangel Uriel. The gold in this image reminds me of Archangel Gabriel, and the green of the flower stem, Archangel Raphael. And I immediately called all of them in the Divine Mother as this was happening. It was just incredible. I'm saying it with a bit of, chuckling now because I'm laughing at how, well, it's really a release of the tension to do that, because I immediately saw that this person was going to fall, and we were at the street, so that would have not been good. So I pushed myself up against them because they were standing against their car, and I pushed my body up against them. Now, I'm like a little person, okay? I'm not like a big, strong person. I'm not very, I'm not very physical. I'm more energetic, but I just pushed myself up against them and hugged them as hard as I could to hold them up in the moment. And I thought, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this, but I just did it. And it's so amazing because I felt that Archangel Michael was the one holding them. It was really incredible. And I mean, that in itself was an amazing experience. I mean, oh goodness. And the person couldn't talk. And I'm pushing them up against the car, but they were able to hold on to me with one arm. And so I just sat there breathing and praying out loud with them. And then some time passed, and I felt that it would be good to lower them to the ground if I could. Really, I don't know how I did this, okay? Well, I know how it happened. It was Archangel Michael. You know, it was his strength doing the work through me or with me, or, you know, I just don't, know, but that's what it was. And I somehow lowered this person who's taller than me to the ground without their head hitting the ground. It was incredible. Really, it was incredible. And was able to lean them up against this stone wall. There was just so many miraculous things that happened when when it was over. In the moment, as some of them I started to see and understand, and I was just simply amazed. But eventually they recovered. I did ask them if they wanted an ambulance, but we had some medical supplies right there, and it was just so amazing. They needed like water, they needed a cup for water, they needed a certain medicine, and I had just they had it in their car, which was right there, and I had brought an entire cup of water with me. I don't usually travel around with a cup of water. But I did. I bought a glass of water with me. And I had brought my cup, and I drank the coffee on the ride over. So I had an empty cup and water to mix the medicine. I mean, I just thought, this is such a miracle. When they asked for the medicine and water, I just was wowed. And so some more time passed, and we were able to walk back into the house, get something else for the person, and at the end of about 5 hours from the start of everything, they were feeling much better and looked like they were on the road to recovery. So I don't want to release any other details about it, but it was truly, truly amazing. Truly amazing. And there's some personal details that, caused this event. And so you don't need to, worry about suggesting medicines or anything like that, or what might have happened. So that's all. We're all okay with that. But, wow. I mean, oh goodness. I was in shock for the rest of the day. I couldn't really talk. It was like my mind was offline. It was just spirit. Like, it was just the energy of the divine, right? Still flowing with me and flowing through me. And it was just being present with that for the rest of the day. And I couldn't even talk until the next day when, in the evening, when I finally talked to a friend about it. Wow, it was incredible, friends. It was truly miraculous. And the person has texted me, and they're fine. And maybe it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I'm so grateful, for everything that happened, because even though it seemed like it was me helping the other person, going through that with them brought me so many personal realizations that it's astounding. And the other thing that it did was it allowed me to in the moment, practice my personal energy management techniques. And this is a person that's aware of energy as well, and has probably done a bunch of work with their own self around this. So I was able, when things were happening, I was able to address some of this with the person, and maintain my energy field boundaries despite having this event happen. Let me show you what I mean. So in the moment, and I want to talk about energy field boundaries, this is a person, two people, and their human energy fields. This is how I like to illustrate the concept. We'll look at this a little more with even more information about what's in the energy field in a minute, but I want to keep it simple for this part of the discussion. So in the moment, what happened is I facilitated the situation by pushing them up against the car, okay, and then lowering them to the ground. But when they were lowered to the ground, it seemed to me like the person had a choice point, right? Their body was in pain. And what happened was I immediately saw the version of themselves leave the body and stand beside the body. Now, since I'm clairvoyant, that's how I experience this. And I saw what I would call like a primary version of their higher self, but the aspect of them that really operates their body, right? That presents as them. But that part essentially left and stood beside the body. Now it's still attached to their body. But what happened is immediately this part of them attempted to attach to me. Right? Which makes sense, because their body is having an issue and they're thinking, here's safety. Here's a living human person with a living body. I'm going to just lean on them energetically. And this non-physical higher self aspect attempted to attach to me. So I'm not talking about the I am presence or the soul level higher self. I'm talking about the aspect that is sort of closest to the body, who is this person, okay? Normally, under normal conditions. And then this higher self aspect, I could see it wanted to come into my energy field and be with me in the field, in my field, because this wasn't safe, right? Now, there were times in my life when I would have allowed that. But I have a different understanding now and awareness. And my primary focus now is to honor the body and soul that I am, and to protect the integrity of this body and soul first, above all else. Why? Because this is my commitment to my own soul. You can think of it as a commitment to God, the Most High, the Creator of the universe, the source of all that is to maintain this body and to live this life and to be me. So being me doesn't include, even for someone in crisis, renting space out in my field or allowing that. No, I do not consent to that. So what I did was I gently, energetically disconnected them. Now, the fact that they were able to hook a cord to me, an energetic cord to me, which is like this, right? It's like someone kind of gets hooked to your field, and then they move closer and they're like, "Can I come in?" Like that, okay? Now, it's a serious situation. I acknowledge that. But adding some laughter where it's appropriate brings a little bit of levity to this. Okay, so here they are. They want to come in. And I said, what I did was I gently disconnected this. Okay, I gave it to Archangel Michael, the cord. And I then spoke to this person who did have conscious awareness at this point. And I said, look, I said, I honor whatever choice you make here, whether you stay or go. But your higher self aspect has to go with you. It cannot stay with me. It was really something that was a lot for me to say, because all of our social programming tells us, to especially for nurturing women, right, to give of yourself. But it's my view, I've come to understand that honoring the self, honoring who I am, taking care of me is God's will for me. I can't take care of other people or be who I am in the world unless I'm taking care of myself first. So what happened was this then stood back and stayed with them. Now, what does that mean? I only really realized the implications of all this afterwards, because this part of him didn't feel like it could come with me. It went back to him. Now, this is my interpretation of events. He might have a different interpretation. But after a period of time, it seemed like it reintegrated back into his field. And then he was able to get up, with assistance. It's so phenomenal, isn't it? It's incredible. Now, let me show you the next part of this story. Okay, so this is just a regular person. Maybe this is me just walking around. I'm out in the world. Maybe I'm sending love out to the world, or I'm feeling good inside, right? I'm presenting my best face. Well, it's interesting because there are layers in the human energy field. And there are layers of time, which I have a video on that I'm working on. I will link that below when it's published. So check below for that. It's the next one in the series. But there's also layers of like emotion, of thought. And I'm giving you some here. So I made this sort of a bullseye to illustrate the layers. And let's just look, like here I am, okay? I'm in my best place, right? I'm presenting like my strongest self, my happiest self, whatever that happens to be to the world. Yay, everything's great, right? There's my beautiful soul-connected heart. Well, here's another version of me. And maybe here I'm not so soul-connected. I'm not really feeling that connection, but I'm still out in the world doing my thing day to day. Now here, this is interesting because this is sort of a denser part of me. And it's interesting because I can be all of these parts of me at the same time in my field. So in this part of me, maybe my heart isn't so open, and I may have sort of memories of past events I put this behind me because it's a past event that I may or may not be, like I've pushed it back, right? Because it was disturbing or it bothered me, or maybe I've had a conversation with someone recently or in the past that bothered me, but it's just not on my mind every moment. But when that gets triggered, this is how I present, right? This is how I present. I present with a less powerful version of myself. I might present with a childlike version of myself. I might present with an emotional version of myself. One way to think of this is to think of all of these states of being existing in my human energy field at the same time. And I bring forward the state of being in the moment that is relevant for the living human experience and the situation that I experience right now. Okay, so right now, here I am. I'm teaching my favorite stuff. I'm interacting with you guys. I'm telling a story and talking about the human energy field. I love doing it. My heart is open. I'm presenting my best self. Okay. Maybe this is me yesterday. I'm still in shock over this event. I don't really feel totally together because of that. My body is aching all over the place because somehow I was able to miraculously, have the strength to hold this person up. But my heart is open. Okay, my heart is open. I'm feeling loving. But in the back, right, in the back here of my mind, there might be an experience that is much tougher, right? That doesn't feel like my best self. And there it is behind my heart. So what I wanted to talk about was how shocking events help us unfold our destiny. Let me show you what the shocking event can look like. Here's another way to look at the image that I just showed you. So here I am. I'm presenting as I'm feeling okay, somewhat happy. If I'm talking to you, I might appear happy. But there is a detritus of old energy in my field. Maybe now, it feels like it's down by my feet or it's down somewhere where I can't see it in the moment. It could be, something that happened when I was 5 years old. It could be something that happened as a teen. It could be something that happened last week. But it's there, right? It's there in the field. Now, especially when these are older situations that very, very much affected us, we can get triggered, right? So here's someone approaching me and something happens and I get triggered. Now, in this situation, something clicks and this old anger is triggered. And so it's almost like a tube opens up to this anger, to this old detritus. And you see here, here's a little suitcase of anger, and it travels straight up the tube and ejects outward at the person. And now what happens? I'm projecting a situation at a person who has nothing to do with the old situation, okay? But yet gets the experience of that interaction with me. And this is usually an unconscious event, okay? Usually we're not conscious of why this just happened until we start to bring our mind to it. Then the next day, oh, okay, we're over it. We've moved on, and we don't necessarily, okay, know what this was about. Maybe our anger's a little bit raised up, okay, but that relates to this old event. And we can have feelings of sadness over what happened. Why did I just do that with the other person? We can feel like, oh yeah, once in a while I just explode at people, whatever it happens to be. We could have doubt, confusion and questioning over, why did this just happen? Like, what did I do? Why did I do this with this person? Okay. But I want to address now really and truly shocking events. Shocking events are like this image, and let me just talk you through it. There's no projection, and a shocking event of this sort can indicate the potential for a major life shift. So we've gone far beyond the concept of there's old emotion from old events in the field. The shocking event essentially creates a tube of energy here that brings everything to the surface in the moment for release right here. And this was me yesterday. Like, what just happened? Right? And it's like a lightning bolt of energy just shocks us. Bam. And it causes the opportunity, if we stay open to it in the moment, which can be challenging, the opportunity to resolve this in a nearly miraculous fashion. So in the moment, when we bring the light of awareness and love to ourselves, from love of ourselves, in the moment, we may be able to evaluate the situation and make conscious choices. For example, the way that I was able to continue to maintain energy boundaries and not allow the other person's higher self, closest to the body, higher self, to step into my field or to hook into my field in any significant way. In the shock of it, their higher self did get a hook into me, but I noticed it immediately and cleared that energy. The key element here is to bring unconditional love to yourself and the situation and the other person, if there's another person or people, in the moment. This is akin to calling on God, calling out for God, calling out for the Divine Mother, and in the moment, calling on the divine in a situation of intensity elevates the entire situation. It elevates the possibilities of what can happen there for everyone involved. And if you call on the divine, it's the mechanism is that the divine responds to us, but the divine is the one that creates the miracle. The divine is the one that assists all beings in the moment. But as a human being, you do end up co-creating with the divinity in that moment because you asked, you called on, the Most High. And it's a very humbling experience. But when you bring the light of unconditional love to yourself, to the situation, to the other person, and you can do it by calling on it externally, and then if you are able, you can do it by bringing that unconditional love within the heart, that feeling, that state of being I've talked about many times in my videos. It's that same state of being when you feel that prayerful connection with God in your heart and field, okay? When you are praying, that exact energy, you apply it to yourself, you apply it to the other person, you apply it to the situation. It's hugely transformative. It's also, the other name for this, in my view, is 0 point. Okay, if you're a light worker, an energy worker, if you are able to continue contact with 0 point in a shocking situation, a state of unconditional love that emanates from the heart, you apply it to yourself, you apply it to the other person, you apply it to the situation. It's the same state as well as a state of meditative centeredness, where you're oming out, right? You're in that amazing state of centeredness. And if you can maintain that in the situation, you apply it to yourself, you apply it to the other person, you apply it to the situation. And by apply it to the other person, I simply mean it's an offer. You embody it, and then it flows through you. Why does it flow through you? Because it is divinity, and because energy in motion is always in motion. By applying it through an offer, it's not forced on the other person, because not everybody is going to choose to receive that. And learning to respect others' choices honors their soul path, and it honors God within them. Because if God within you can direct you, right, on this spiritual journey, can direct, now you can embody this light, now you can apply it, now it can be offered through you. Well, that's possible for that person as well. And you have no idea whether in the moment God is working through them right now, right? It's working through them right now. And maybe you are the one that is receiving unbeknownst to you. And this is the fascinating miracle of these shocking situations. So honoring the light in the other person and their ability to make choices in the moment, conscious or unconscious, that are in perfect alignment with divinity embodied as a living human being that you are facing, that is quite something. It's quite something. And my friends, this concept of expanded and contracted layers within the field it's an amazing concept to get in touch with. It's an amazing concept to bring the light of awareness to, because it allows for the transformational shift of these old energies in miraculous fashion. And this is the miracle of these times, that shocking events align us with our destiny by bringing us into closer alignment, into more full embodiment of the truth of who we truly are as living, human, soul-embodied beings.